One day I woke up, but I was like, something is off. Like I need to change. I don't know. This city is not inspiring me. This relationship is not serving me anymore. So I broke up with my ex. I gave notice to my landlord. After I think 1 month or less, I got a job opportunity to move to London, like without applying. And I was like, okay, everything happens for a reason.
From talent matchmaking to mental health advocacy, meet Elisabetta, the powerhouse behind Mint and Lemon, helping founders turn personal brands into powerful business tools.
How did that make you feel?
It makes me feel stupid, honestly. Like I felt stupid for a long time. I was in this company and he literally told me in my face, you're never gonna make it because your English is not good enough. It was my first year of literally living here. I was making so much effort. I was going to English classes. I was like, wow, am I so stupid that I can't really get to the point where people would see value in me? So your confidence level goes down like there's no tomorrow.
I could never see myself moving there simply because of the language barrier. Because I'm like, oh my God, if I cannot communicate, how am I able to succeed in this place, in this environment?
After 4 years of Plum, I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to build my own company. And if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. 2024, it's been pivotal year of my life, not only because I built a company, but because a lot of things happen on the back of that.
Did you always wanted to start a business or
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, thanks to you, I guess. So that's a very interesting question.
Elisa, welcome back. You were the first guest that I had on my pod, and you're also now the first guest who is a repeat on the pod. It's been almost a year since we did the first episode. So the first question I want to ask you really is, today where you're at, did you envision being here versus the time we spoke the first time?
First of all, Asim, thank you for having me back. This is a lovely pod and different location as well. I think the first podcast was very, very different from this podcast and where I am now. I would have never envisioned, I think, how the journey would have unfolded. When I was here in June last year, was a very different stage of the company that I built, but also of my maybe mindset. Different literally company altogether, actually. After actually our pod, I've seen personal exponential growth. I've changed the business, pivoted the business. There's been a lot of hard times, a lot of fun times as well, but more hard times than the fun times. 2024, it's been a pivotal year of my life, not only because I built a company, but because a lot of things happen on the back of that. It completely changed my life, I think, that year. Just literally also after we had that podcast. So maybe I would see the podcast as my lucky sign, as my lucky sign for something bigger that happened after. So thank you for inviting me actually that time as well.
I hope all the future prospecting guests hear this. This is a lucky stage. Thank you so much for saying that, and I'm glad you're on the right trajectory at this point in time. Coming back to your immigrant journey, so you're Italian.
Yes.
And now you're living in the UK. Yeah, well, we could not tell by your accent, but now you're living in the UK. So walk me through that.
Yeah.
When did you come here? Why did you come here?
Yeah, so very much Italian. As you can hear from my accent, from my gesture, from my look, maybe from my name. I was born and raised in Italy. I came to the UK 12 years ago. On the 1st of April, actually, it's going to be exactly 12 years ago. I've then actually moved countries. I was here for 2 years. I've moved to Spain for another 4 years and a half, and then moved back to the UK in 2019. So it's been quite a lot of moving around. Why I moved? There's been something a bit, I would say, organic. Somehow I pushed myself to be out of the country. I love Italy, but I feel like I wanted a bit more from life, and I wanted to be exposed to a different environment. I think it started all also in my maybe teenage years. When if you would have told me like, okay, what do you want to be when you're an adult? I would have never, I never had any idea of actually what was my future. I could never envision it. And I think maybe because, again, I grew up in a very small town where no one would speak English, where we would never be exposed to other like foreign, I would say, influences. So maybe that place was a bit too tight for me. And I always had it on the back of my mind, but I've never maybe I never say it out loud. So and that sudden like it would actually kind of stop my mind to actually envision my future there somehow. That's what I think it happened. But yeah, I felt like I never fitted, basically. And I felt like I always want more from life. And I always saw the UK as, oh my God, like, the place of Harry Potter. Like, I was obsessed with Harry Potter. Queen, the music band. And I always was so curious about it. And I was so, like, mesmerized. And then when I was 18, my parents was like, okay, it's your 18th birthday, it's a big birthday. What do you want as a present? I was like, get me like a one-way flight basically to London. And they did. So I was here for like just 10 days, like not much really. But I was shocked. Like I couldn't speak, of course, the language. And I was like, oh my God, I love everything and anything about this country. London, I was like, wow, it's such a big city, but so clean, so well organized somehow. And I was so impressed about it. And I was like, this is a place where it's the first place outside of my country where I feel like I could live. I could be okay with it. And then you never have that feeling, you always somehow homesick at some point or something. You want to, you want your house, when I was here, I feel like home. I feel like this is a second home. And then at some point, then I went to university. Then I went to study in Italy and everything. But my main problem is that I didn't know the languages, so that was a big issue for me. And then at some point, after, so I did my first university course for 5 years, and then I did another master. And part of the master was like an internship that you could do it abroad or in Italy. And somehow I just pushed to just come here. I was literally sending I think 100 CVs per day. And I was like, I want to be here. I want to be here. I want to be here. But no one would call me from here. So I was having offers from Milan and everything, proper actually job, not just internship. And at some point I had 3 offers. I had 2 offers from 2 big companies in Milan, paid, very well paid, everything. And then I had this third offer, randomly. I remember I was coming out of that one of the last interviews with the other companies. I was coming out of that interview. It was I don't know, 7 p.m., dark in Milan, rainy, like a movie, I feel seeing. And this number from the UK called me, and I was like, what is this about? And then this person called me, and she started talking to me in English. And I was like, okay, I can't understand anything. Then, thank God she was actually Italian, so she understood that I wasn't understanding anything. So she started actually speaking Italian, and she's like, look, we have this opportunity. It's unpaid, but would you be interested? It's here based in Central London. And I was like, oh my God, yes, tell me all about it. And then she started telling me, she's like, okay, I'll send you details by email and everything. And then somehow I was like, this is my opportunity. And I just want to leave the country, and I want to go for the unpaid opportunity in Central London, which of course is a city that is quite expensive, as you know. And my parents was like, oh my God, we think you're crazy. We think something is wrong with you. But thank God they always supported me, whatever decision I wanted to make in life. They've always been super supportive, super open-minded with me and my sister. And I think there's been a blessing, and there's been pivotal as well in my life. So I'm really, really thankful for my family and for how they've been supporting me. So I just left. One day I literally just left, booked my flight, and then I continue my life here. So unpaid internship. And then I found a job in retail. I was a sales assistant in Armani. Then somehow I got into corporate after so many no's and rejection. And then somehow I got a job opportunity to move to Spain. I moved there, stayed there for 4 years and a half, and then moved back to the UK. Mostly because I felt that the UK, it was a place where I could grow more. in terms of being exposed to the right people, being London so international, such a melting pot of culture, but also in terms of like the whole startup environment was and it is very different. When it comes to Europe, like it is the number one place where you want to be if you want to build a startup or if you want to be a part of a startup. So I was like, okay, it's my time to come back and to feel more inspired and to feel more where you're in that environment where you know you can grow, you know you can meet the right people, you know you can get inspired. And that's how then I moved back to the UK and everything started. But it was very hard. Like it was not easy, especially for me, like having that language barrier. It was hard because it's not that you just need to speak the language to, like you would speak to, you know, your partner, with your friends, with your family. You need to speak the language in a corporate environment. And writing emails in English corporate, like, oh my God, for me was like, and you didn't have ChatGPT at that time. So there was no help apart from Google. And I remember sometimes, like the first internship that I got, there was like a colleague sent me a note, like a post-it, writing something like some papers or something. And she wrote like weird data. And data, okay, I understood because actually it's the same name in Italian, but weird, I didn't know. So I would like, I don't know, be with my, that time with my, you know, dictionary, and I would like search words and everything. Like it was surreal. I did not know like what basic things were called. So yeah, it has been quite of a journey.
You know, there was one time, one point in my life when, because of my partner at that time, she had moved to Luxembourg, and Luxembourg is actually, I mean, most people speak English, but then you've got people speak other languages as well. So you've got French, you've got German, you've got Luxembourgish. And although people spoke English there, and obviously I speak English, I could never see myself moving there simply because of the language barrier. Because I'm like, oh my God, like if I cannot communicate, how am I able to succeed in this place, in this environment? And especially if you know English, because English obviously is an international language, and you know, and it's a language in which you do business, and the world operates, the economy, whatever. And because you have this language barrier, I'm also thinking, you know, cities like London are very interesting. That they also, how can I say, like embrace someone who does not speak their language, because I don't know how difficult or easy would it be for me to move to Milan and not speak a word of Italian, like or go to Munich and not speak a word of you know, German, or you know, even Arabic language. There's so many, you know, most of the world is good. It would be very difficult. So I think, I mean, it's just great that you have places like London which allow you that opportunity, knowing that you cannot communicate in their language. I think that's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right. Like, so people, I mean, there's so many cultures, there's so many different people coming from different backgrounds here, that people are very much used to actually embracing those different cultures, from like the cuisine, from the food. You see, like the best international food is in London. Like honestly, you can find anything and everything. The best sushi, the best Chinese, the best, sometimes even the best Italian, honestly. Yeah, like you can find anything and everything. And you can see even in the, I think we're talking about it as well, even in the GP, or like if you have any like language barriers and everything, they would always, I actually had my friends, she used to be a translator as well in hospitals, for people coming from Poland, to help them out, people local, actually people, but they didn't speak very well English, helping them out with any translation and everything. So there is all these translation services that we were talking about, and how this is so helpful, and how they're trying to not make you feel as an outsider,
Yeah.
but they're trying to make you feel as really you're part of the society, even if you don't speak like perfect English, or even if your accent is a bit broken like mine, and even if, you know, you don't come, you were not born and raised in this country, which I think is beautiful. And I don't think, as you rightly say, it's something very common in other countries. So that's how actually I think the economy also became so strong, and that's how I think also the environment is so inspiring, because when you really mix people from different backgrounds and different mindset, then you create something very, very special, which is something so unique to London and to the UK, and something that you don't easily find outside.
So, you know, you moved to this country and you came alone, I'm guessing. So you didn't know anyone in the city. So you don't know anyone in the city, and like, because I can resonate with that. But then, not knowing a language and not being able to communicate, how did that make you feel?
That I had a lot of issues in that moment. It makes me feel stupid, honestly. Like I felt stupid for a long time. And I felt like, wow, like because I learned the language at a later stage in my mid late 20s. So I was like, I will never perhaps have that accent. I will never be able to speak so perfectly like a native speaker. So at that time, I felt like really, okay, like maybe I will never go places as well because I always have that barrier. But then I started kind of shifting mindset and thinking like, okay, my English is never gonna be perfect. I will never have maybe that accent. But at the same time, that's also my superpower. And people like my Italianity. The people like how expressive I am. People like how dramatic I am, how straightforward, how expressive, yeah, how different I am. And so I was like, okay, actually, that's not something that will block me in life. That's something that will make me actually go further. So I completely shifted my mindset and everything changed. Especially because I started working in product in my career, but then I moved to sales. And especially when it comes to sales, there's a lot of relationship building. So I thought, okay, maybe my English is not perfect, but I compensated with having higher emotional intelligence, higher uh, people skills that other people will not have. So how can I compensate that with other skills that you won't find maybe in other people?
I mean, it's very interesting that you picked up a new language in your mid-20s, and people listening now, I don't think anyone could tell that you've only started, speaking this language just a few years ago. And on top of that, you're in sales. So, especially if you're in sales, because I've been in sales all my life, confidence is very important, and confidence, and your job is to communicate whatever you're selling in the back end, and you're building a relationship. And that building relationship, confidence, all that comes from the way you communicate and articulate. So do you also, I don't know, was there a hindrance because you're consciously thinking, oh my God, I think more than the accent, constructing the words together. Like, I mean, how are you even doing that?
It is very interesting. So, if you're in sales, you need to be very confident. Like, you can show yourself, like, but maybe, like, to the prospect. But at the beginning, I was not confident at all. And I knew I wanted to be in sales somehow, but I was not good at it in the beginning. So, I was really horrible because, yeah, I didn't have that confidence. I would be like shy in front of prospects. Like, I could not properly sell. Then little by little, practicing. And I remember there was this one person that told me, because at the beginning I was, more SDR, so I was not properly closing. But then I remember there was one person that at that time was working as a consultant with the company I was working at. And he told me, you just need to close your first deal. You just need to close your first deal, then the confidence will come out. And we didn't even talk about this, like, confidence thing and everything, but somehow it looked through me somehow. And he was like, you need to close that first deal, then, you'll have like a open future. And he was so right. Like, he was so right, because then I started closing my first deal and everything like unfolded completely. So I started being more confident. I started being more going after, not really going after prospect, actually, just more like just building those relationships and not thinking about, oh my God, I need to close. But how actually my main goal, why I want to be in sales, is that I want to build those meaningful relationships. And then if something come up after that, like if there is a sales or anything, that's good. If something doesn't come up, then okay. Anyway, I build that relationship, and that's really valuable for me, because at the end of the day, I left the country as well because I wanted to be exposed to different personalities, um, different people that would inspire me. Um, but yeah, like now I lost also my train of thoughts, but it was not easy, but you build it little by little. But one thing that really helped me, I think, is also um, building, the structure, you say, of the sentences and everything, because like your Italian grammar, your Italian way of building the sentences and everything is very different, of course, from the English grammar. But what really helped me is actually always being with friends, with partners that would not speak Italian. And that really helped me because I was forced to speak English and I was forced to learn. And I would tell them, like, if I make a mistake, if I say something wrong, you need to correct me. I don't want you to like, and then brush it under the carpet, you know? And you need to tell me if I'm making any grammatical mistakes or anything. And then I had this couple of friends of mine that actually would always somehow correct me in a nice way, never like condescending or anything, you know? But in a nice way, they would always correct me and that really helped me a lot. And people that are patient with you, you know, like they even if sometimes you cannot explain something, they're like, okay, I got you, like I understand, like, you know, and that's really appreciated.
It's great that you had that support system, but did you have instances where people actually did not like how you sounded?
Yeah, I did have. I mean, like you always find a variety of people in your path. I know I found some people that weren't really understanding as well with my accent and with my, you know, maybe grammar or anything, and did not see the potential in me. I had specifically one MD that I remember, and I talked to this about it, like also previously, that I remember I was in this company and he literally told me in my face, off the records, of course, like, you're never going to make it because your English is not good enough. You didn't study English enough. And I was like, wow, it was my first year of like literally living here. I was making so much effort. I was going to English classes. I was just trying anything and everything. And I was like, wow, am I so stupid that I can really get to the point where people would see value in me? So you read it, your confidence level goes down like there's no tomorrow. And it's like, yeah, you'll never make it because my daughter is in Spain and she's learning Spanish amazingly. See how she's doing in like 2 weeks. You 1 year here, you can still speak like very well the language. And I was like, okay, first of all, it's not fair to compare like, you know, your daughter with me. Different path, different journeys, and like it was really insulting to me. But those things fueled me so much because I was like, I'll show you how I'm gonna make it. I'll show you. So I took it in a different way, not as a downer, not as a, oh my God, poor me, ha, 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 ha. But I took it like, okay, now it's time for me to level up and to show you how I can not make what you think it should be enough, but double that.
So how long did it really, I mean, I'm so interested simply because I think learning a new language is, I mean, maybe everybody's different, but for me, especially as you're older, like it's just so difficult. Okay, great, you had the support system and you push yourself in the corner. You also, it's great that you're thinking, am I that stupid? But okay, you also, you know, push yourself to come out of that headspace. How long did it take you to finally be confident in your, you know, communication with people in English?
Maybe like 2 years, I would say.
Oh, that's quick.
No, communication with people, not communication
In the business world.
in the business world.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like I think 2 years with people, and then little by little, because then I moved also like jobs, countries, and everything. So when I moved also countries, that helped me because again, a lot of other people from different cultural background, different languages also were speaking English as a second language. So
When you
that-
moved to Spain, you
yeah, when I moved to
Okay.
Spain. So that made me feel actually, okay, I'm not alone. And, you know, people have different accesses and everything, but you still are able to communicate and to build businesses, you know, head departments and everything. So that really helped me to building up a bit more confidence. But then again, when you deal with prospects and everything, as you know, it's a different ballgame altogether, especially negotiations, especially, you know, everyone has a very different way of negotiating, which is also very cultural. So some people will not negotiate on pricing. Some cultures would always negotiate on pricing. So there is also a different way of positioning yourself, of like objection handling and everything. So then I start getting exposed in the sales wars to not only different languages, but actually people coming from completely different continents. Because at some point I used to work also for a US company, and yeah, it was a totally different way of of managing a relationship. But it's been like a beautiful journey. Like honestly, it's I'm so grateful for that.
So you wanted to move to the UK so badly, and you did. you arrived, then why'd you leave?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. I loved it, but somehow one day I went for a weekend to Barcelona and I loved that city. I was like, I could live here. And I thought of actually being there for like a year. And then, a year turned into like 4 years and a half. And so that was a very different background, very different journey. I don't know. I felt there was something in that country. I felt it was my opportunity also to learn a third language. And I would have never had that opportunity, maybe also later on, because the more you're in a country, the more you maybe want to stay, you want to settle down and everything. I was like, okay, I'm young enough to still, move countries, adapt very easily. And so I was like, okay, well, let's move. So I sent one CV and then I was looking for another job. So I was sending other CVs here in the UK. That same day, I received 3 offers. One from a very big company, very big international company, one from also another very good company here in the UK, both the roles. And then I received also this offer to move to Barcelona, literally to move to Barcelona after 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, let's move to Barcelona. And again, my parents are like, okay, what's wrong with you? Like, you get very good job offer. I mean, that role in Barcelona also was very good. But the other also companies were like big international companies. I was like, okay, what's wrong with you? Why you want to now like, struggle again and move countries again? I was like, I don't know. I feel it's the right thing. But at that point, my parents also were kind of used to it. I mean, there have been a lot of different moments in my corporate life as well where I rejected a lot of offers that looked perfect on paper, but just my gut was saying no somehow. Again, when I was in Barcelona, I got a really good job offer before coming back here in 2019. That was a thing in 2017. I got a really good job offer for a big international social media company to move here to the UK. And I went through all the process and everything, but at the end, I was like, I just feel something is off. I just feel this is not my journey yet. And then eventually I move a bit later. So, but I think sometimes some things might look very good on paper, but you just need to go with the flow. And that experience in Barcelona actually made me appreciate more London at that time. Especially, I mean, London is a very expensive city. So if you're on a very low salary and everything, you also struggle. You can go out. You can really enjoy the city like fully, of course. And, you can't really eat out. You need to watch anything and everything. And I was like, okay, maybe I want to just see what's out there and experience a bit more. But then, sometimes you always think that the grass is always greener, but it's not. So that's all. I was like, okay, let's go back to London.
And then you came back to London in 2019.
Yeah.
You mentioned.
Just before Brexit.
Just before Brexit. Oh, okay. Well, was it also timed? You wanted to come back?
I mean, again, that happened very sudden. One day I woke up. And at that time, I was also with somebody, but I was like, I don't know, this city is not inspiring me. This relationship is not serving me anymore. It just, something is off, like I need to change. So I broke up with my ex. I gave notice to my landlord. And after, I think, like 1 month or less, I got a job opportunity to move to London, like without applying. And I was like, okay, everything happens for a reason, and I better again follow that journey, and it happened. Like it's but yeah, I thought, okay, if I need to move anywhere I wanted to move, I had like that day I was like, okay, it's happening. I was like, I need to move before Brexit, because of course then things would be harder, which I know they're harder right now if you're European. Yeah, I need to move, so I better do it now, and then life happens.
So you're the founder of Mint and Lemon. But then what happened before Mint and Lemon? What has led you to Mint and Lemon as it stands today? I know you've already pivoted in Mint and Lemon, but we're going to speak about the pivot later. But yeah, what led you from that time you moved into 2019 to the UK back again to where you are today?
Yeah, so 2019 I moved to London. Then in 2020 I had the opportunity actually to join Plum. So it's been a beautiful journey. I was one of the founding members. I don't have to tell you this story, I guess, but everyone.
No, tell me, what did you do in Plum?
Tell me how you hired me. But yeah, as you know, I was one of the founding members. I've joined the company in a very early stage. It was a beautiful journey. I think we grew together as a company. I learned so much. I was there to I was hired to build the sales department, and eventually took over as well the customer success department. It's been the most important, perhaps, lesson and journey of my life, because I got to learn so much from the team, but specifically from you, I would say. And I think if I didn't have that early stage startup experience, maybe I would have never actually had the gut to jump and to build my own company, because you kind of start preparing yourself to, okay, what is the fuck up that you're gonna have, what is the issues that you're gonna face, the struggles, the crying days,
And we had a lot of
we
issues.
had a lot. But looking back, then you're like, okay, if something happened now, I know, like, this is not gonna break me, like, this is only gonna make me stronger. So it has been a very beautiful learning process. And then after 4 years of Plum, I was like, okay, like, maybe it's time for me to build my own company. And if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So we eventually parted ways at the beginning of 2024. It's been very emotional also. Like, I felt like breakup with Plum, which wasn't a breakup, but it felt like a bit very emotional, I must say, because like the people is what made the company, what was making Plum. And then we were talking as well earlier, like, so, I mean, I think that the thing that I missed the most when I exited is been the people and that community that you create around. That's been like heartbreaking, honestly, for me. But everything happens for a reason. So I'm still in contact with the whole team and with all of you, and I think we built like a beautiful relationship with everyone. And then I started building my company, Mint and Lemon, and it started as a recruitment agency for for early stage startups, because again, that's been my experience of really finding the right people for Plum, building my department, and I never really had a recruitment partner that could actually understand like the right people that you need to hire for a startup. And that's how I was like, okay, let me create a business out of it. And that's how then the company started and the company launched, but which is very different from what is it now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's the beauty of building something. I mean, you and reminding yourself how change is the only constant. But it's also important. I mean, this is for people listening. Social media also does romanticize the whole startup world, but it's expectation versus reality. And I think, and this is by no means discouraging people to start a business. It's a complete opposite. I think more and more people to start a business and to create jobs and to create impact. But I think it's 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 some sort of a business or a life hack to be first, get into a space where you can work for, especially early stage startup. And if you can, work as closely with the founders as possible, because that just sets you up for success in the future years. And again, success is not guaranteed, but the probability does. It does impact your probability. I just feel that you de-risk your business by just learning, and it's very difficult to get that learning from a corporate, simply because, I mean, you've been there. Like, I mean, there's just more bad days than good days. I mean, you think of something and then things just change. There are no processes, and if you have a process, it just breaks because things are just growing exponentially. And scaling is difficult. And you quickly start understanding how people management is difficult. And you just building anything and everything off the cuff, like, it's just, yeah, it's madness. And I think maybe at that time you also realize if this is what I want to do, because a lot of people, when they come into that space, they also start realizing, oh, this is not for me. This is not for me. I thought I had an idea of starting a company, but this is not for me. And I would rather do something else in life. And that is also okay. So I think really de-risking, I mean, that's a great de-risk strategy, And again, nothing is guaranteed, but it just somehow gives you a better chance, I feel. So I think that's important as well, and I'm glad that has been your experience with Plum. It could have been any other company, but I'm glad you went through that journey for you to be able to come into the space that you are today. So on that, did you always wanted to start a business, or like?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, thanks to you, I guess. But I mean, on your side, I would say I also
A lot of people have been saying this to me lately, by the way. A lot of people who really come close to me
people.
start a business and then they leave me, which is quite sad, but also very liberating.
I think the beauty of it is that you inspire people, and I think that's beautiful. So it's actually you really give away a lot of good energy and a lot of you push people also to to do maybe what is in their dreams and what they are inspiring to do, and think that that should not only be in your dreams but could be a reality one day. So I think that's beautiful. Um, but on that side, no, I never actually thought about starting a business. I think, like, as I was mentioning to you, maybe it's because of you, because of being in Plum. That I was like, okay, maybe I don't know, maybe you've been exposed to so much, sometimes drama, sometimes the like there's a roller coaster, as you know. So like then I was like, okay, maybe I should give it a try. But also maybe there was a time actually in 2019 where I thought about starting a business, but it just went away right away. I think it was a month, 2 months gig, and then it just didn't even properly started. Um, I think also in the back of my mind, there was my dad has always been an entrepreneur. His family, they always had businesses and everything. So I was also ready in terms of understanding the hard work that you need to put into the really ups and downs, the long hours, the weekends, and everything from from what I've witnessed since I was like a kid. So that really prepared me, and maybe that also pushed me. I'm very similar to my dad as well. Like maybe that pushed me as well into going to that direction somehow subconsciously. Um, but I think it's sometimes you see other people starting other companies, and we were having this conversation also earlier. It's like, okay, you see other people, and that's the same way actually I came to London. So I saw that somebody that I knew came to London, and she could stay here 2 weeks and not get lost, or I don't know, or cry, or nothing happened, and she had a really good time, and also she couldn't speak any word of English. So I was like, okay, she did it from my hometown. I never told her, but I should have actually told her, like, if she did it, why I cannot do it? So the same way of starting a business, we were talking about it earlier as well. If that person did it, why I cannot do it? Like I have a brain. I feel like I'm smart enough. Maybe I'm not that special, but I have the skills, I feel like. So why I cannot do it? So at least let's give it a try, and let's give ourselves, I don't know, maybe 6 months or something. Let's see how everything goes. And of course, always having a timeline, but also taking risk in a smart way. So I think you should never start. I don't know if you should or not, but sometimes there are ways of kind of having a parachute. And the parachute for me is not thinking about the plan B, giving always your 100% on the plan A, but also understanding that, of course, most of people have bills to pay. They cannot have daddy like looking after their houses or this type of thing. So you also need to be ready to like preempt. Like there could be a case where maybe, I don't know, 1 month you don't have you don't have money to pay your bills or anything. Like you need to be realistic, of course. So going there with that mindset and preparing yourself, and then moving into what's next. But yeah, that's what happened to me. So and yeah, now it's over a year actually, which is surprising and scary, and I don't know where this year went. It went very fast.
This is deja vu, by the way, because just a couple of days ago, so people listening to this pod or actually watching this, I'm going to be looking at my producer now. So my producer also, his name is Paris, by the way. He's behind the camera. You know him as well. He had a similar conversation with me as well. How I've been, he's been watching this. Obviously, he's producing this podcast, so he's listening me talk to other founders and entrepreneurs. He's like, oh my god, this is just so inspirational, and I want to do something by myself, which is great. I'm like, oh my god, I'm glad I inspired you, but you are not my target audience. But oh shit, okay, I'm just happy for you. But no, I think it's great. I think it's just fantastic. I mean, I think this is something that I told him, and I've told you as well. And you know the way I operate. Even with Plum, everything that we do has to be beyond Plum. So I think there's no bigger impact you can make. And I've said this so many times. My objective is to change the world. But what I really mean by changing the world is changing my world and the 5 people around me. And then if one of those 5 people can go out and then create them something by themselves, change their world, and then the 5 people around. If we keep on doing that, the world just changes. So it's just great that you're doing this. And I mean, this is just, a proud moment for me as well. For me that you're doing this, for Paris that he's doing that. And I think, now how can you now pay that forward? for your people. And hopefully, I wish that upon you, that one person that you also impact then leaves you and then changes somebody else's world. So coming back to, again, Mint and Lemon. So Mint and Lemon today is a marketing agency which focuses on personal branding, specifically on LinkedIn. So that's obviously a hot topic these days on social media. We're going to come to that. But it did not start there. It started as a recruitment agency. Obviously, you've been helping Plum and some other companies as well. So why did you start in recruitment, and why did you pivot?
That's a very good question. And it's a very, it's going literally from one company to a complete different industry, I would say. I started in recruitment because, again, that was my experience, like recruiting people to build really like departments for early stage startups. And I felt that there was a gap there because there were not really recruitment agency focusing on that type of market. And I felt, okay, let me build a company that can help early stage founders getting the right people, because those right people for the company, for the startups, are pivotal when it comes to the growth, because one bad hire can make it or break it can break it actually for your company. So I was working primarily with early stage funders within the UK market, but also international market, Europe, US. And most of those funders I was working with, when they would look at my LinkedIn profile, they were like, oh, but you have such a good LinkedIn profile. Why don't you help us out as well? Why don't you basically help us out when it comes to building the whole strategy and everything for our profile and attract the right opportunity, maybe investment for our company, or like inbounds, better conversion outbounds and everything. And at the beginning, I was like, no, let's not do it. Like, I want to be focused. I want to do one thing and do it right. But then more and more, this like opportunity would come. And I felt like, okay, if the universe is sending you some signals, I better open my doors to the universe. So I started basically then saying yes, but not really advertising it. So I was working primarily with those founders. Like, it was a lot of like word of mouth and everything. I started saying yes, but then at some point, I was literally running two businesses. So I had my recruitment business, and then I had my personal branding marketing agency. And it was two completely different type of businesses. And at some point I was like, okay, I need to choose one, because you can do anything and everything. So I was like, okay, what am I more passionate about? I'm more passionate about the marketing agency, because I've always preached and done that literally from the early days. I literally signed up to LinkedIn in 2012, and I was still at uni. Actually, I was finishing uni at that time. And I've always been so passionate about this channel because it gave me a voice. It gave me a voice that I've never had. I never liked the Instagram. I never liked the TikTok because I felt it was too much of a vanity thing. And because then you can really get an ROI unless you're unless you have a business that can get into these channels. But for me, it gave me a voice, and it was so inspiring for me to connect with people from all over the world. When I was traveling, I would meet people from different companies and everything just through the power of LinkedIn. And that was the really early days, like 2014, 2016, 2017. So I was like, okay, let me focus on that business. At the end of the day, then I had to basically quit the whole recruitment business and just focus on that. So it's been like a huge pivot. But that's something that, again, I'm truly passionate about, and I've literally been the guinea pig of my own company. So it unfolded opportunities for me, and I was like, okay, the same way that it unfolded opportunities for me, I want to do the same thing for other founders out there, with the right mission, with the right vision, and give them that voice that they don't have yet. And as an immigrant, you want to have that voice. You want to have the voice on the table. And sometimes you need to fight for it so badly. But I want to make it easier for other people. And interesting enough, actually, we work with a lot of immigrant founders from a lot of different countries. Not only coming to the UK, but also like other immigrant founders that moved to the US or Europe. And it's for me, it feels like a whole circle, like a whole cycle of, like somehow it makes all total sense. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to hear how people are moving countries, the whole struggles that are experiencing along the way, and how every journey is very different, and how they made it final through to that country, not just financially, but also, visa wise and everything is very complicated. It's very, very, very complicated. And it's beautiful to see those success stories, but also how those success stories never come from an easy journey.
It, I mean, easy, but I mean, it's one of those as well, right? I mean, nothing great comes easy. So, I mean, people also take those decisions because they want to change their lives, change their family lives, and so on, and they work really hard to start a new beginning and starting in a new place where you don't have family, friends, no support network. I think that's bloody hard. Obviously, you've gone through it, you know it.
You've
Uh,
gone through it.
I know it.
You know it.
I know it. But I mean, it's just amazing. You speak about full circle. I think it's amazing. I mean, today you've got more than 100,000 followers. So technically speaking, you're like a LinkedIn unicorn already. I mean, from a personal brand perspective, but it's also like the whole full circle is so interesting that just a few years ago, you didn't speak a word of English. And today you're dominating a English language platform. And primarily, we also know LinkedIn is more a written platform versus, I mean, like TikTok, and it's not as much as a visual platform than it is a written platform. So you actually have become a better writer, quote unquote, than even native English speakers, which is just fantastic. Like, I mean, that's hugely inspirational. So, I mean, good on you for doing that.
Thank you. And I think so. It's been a surreal journey, I must say, because at the beginning, the first time I was posting on LinkedIn as well, I always felt very conscious as well. Like, oh my God, like, am I making grammatical mistake? Am I spelling this wrong? Am I like, and again, the time you didn't have like, the Grammarly or like these things to double check, or at least I couldn't have access or I didn't know about it. So like it was, again, like I was feeling so conscious, but then I was like, okay, let's go with the flow. Like, anyway, I have maybe like 10 impressions on my post. So the first post, I think I had only my uncle liking my post. And then I had a lot of posts like when no one was liking my post and no one was engaged. So I was like, okay, and if I fail, it's not going to be a big deal. No one will actually see it. Um, but then I was like, I always liked writing actually. If I think about like since I was a kid, especially around like 12 years old or something, I always, I really had a good way of writing, but writing things that are provocative, writing things that are controversial. Because I've never been somehow the one that was like, oh, yes, yes, you're right, type of thing. Like, even at school, I was always like somehow arguing about things and somehow trying to put like a different point of view into things. So I actually wanted to be a journalist at that time. But then I was like, okay, it's also difficult to make it as a journalist and everything. So I kind of abandoned that idea. But I always had that different type of writing skills in the back of my mind. But then, especially when I moved to the UK, I was like, okay, no way I can like properly write or anything. Like, now it's a different language, it's a different thing. Never gonna happen. But I didn't know I was actually kind of training for it throughout those years, because I started my LinkedIn journey like from 2012. I started posting throughout the years. I started doing a lot of like DMs outreach. I got my first sales meeting with one of the chief strategy officer, one of the major bank in the UK in 2014. And at that time I was the intern in the sales department, and everyone was like, how did you do it? I was like, I just sent a DM on LinkedIn. Like, it happened. And then I started saying, okay, there's so much power in these platforms. So let me post, let me double down, let me DM people, let me meet people in person. And I think that's something also a lot of people are missing out there now, not meeting people in person, not taking those connections offline. And then everything, unfolded. And then I saw that there was so much power in like me writing and people connecting with it, because I was always very I would put my emotions in what I would write. I would not put it too corporate, everything. Like, I would really show my real self out there, and people would connect with that. I had prospects, especially when I was working at Plum. I remember, like, I had prospects that I would connect with them on LinkedIn, and then they would like and comment on my post, and then after maybe like they would go cold on my my sales funnel, but then after 6 months they would come back, say, hey, we love your LinkedIn post, let's connect again, we are ready to buy now. And that happens because you build that relationship outside as well of normal, like, purely like, prospect, like a supplier environment, but you build like relationship like on another level. And when I started seeing that, I was like, okay, let me double down. Let me be that subliminal ad that is always there, but is not there without selling. And then let's see what things come up. And yeah, then eventually it happened. And now I'm not like too conscious about what I write. I go with the flow. I write my post, actually. That's something very bad to say, but for our clients, we are very so precise and everything should be done super. Our clients always schedule their posts and everything, and that's always what I suggest our clients and everything. But then for my posts, I will literally write them 1 minute before I test them. 60 seconds. I write everything I have in my mind that day, that morning, and I just go with the flow.
Okay, this is really important because I mean, you make it sound very easy. 60 second, 1 minute before you just write the post. So it's so easy. All of us should be able to do it, but we don't, and it's actually very difficult. So it'd be interesting to know how you reach that stage. We've actually had quite a few people who are from the personal branding space. One of them, we've had Lara Costa, we've had some other people as well, and everyone obviously has given us a lot of insight on how can we do things better from a mindset perspective, but also from a strategy perspective. It'll be nice to hear your strategy, just for two reasons. Obviously, everybody's different and everyone has different strategies. However, things in the social media space also keep changing drastically. I think I saw your post just a couple of days ago when you said, the changes that has come on LinkedIn the last couple of months or so. So things keep changing so quickly. Like, I mean, do you strategize, work for the algorithms? Do you work for your ICP? Do you work for your content pillars? Like, there's just I wouldn't say misinformation. There's just too much information, and then what happens is paralysis by analysis, because then there's too much choice, and everyone says a lot of different things. But it's nice to hear different viewpoints as well. So, I mean, you write your post in 30 seconds. How did you get there?
Yeah, I got there because I spent so much time in writing awful posts before, on trying and of course I write now in 30 seconds my post but before I was overthinking all those posts and taking so long to write one paragraph and everything. But then sometimes you just need to really go with the flow, and as long as you put your own value, your own personality to those posts, as long as you don't do a copy and paste. And I think there is so much value even in something that you write literally out of your 30 seconds brainstorming. But I know you had a lot of great, of course, social media influence. I would say LinkedIn influencer here, and I look up to them a lot. I must say they've been I mean, I know the Lara, the Schwab, amazing. And I learned so much from them. So at the beginning, I think a lot of people underestimate the power of LinkedIn. It's literally building a company. And that's, as we always discuss, is the most important company of your life because it's your personal brand. And I always envision your personal brand as if you are, I always like to take back to the Greek mythology, King Midas, that king that used to turn into gold everything he would touch. So for me, if you have a very strong personal brand, whatever you touch, wherever you tap into, you can turn it into gold. Which means that you can be successful, and success looks very different for every person. Whatever it is, you looking for another job, or you building a company, or you wanting to have a different revenue stream, or you building those meaningful connection, you having that speaking gigs, you getting investment for your company, you getting inbounds, or all these opportunities. I don't think there is a secret sauce. The way I succeeded is really making it personal, because it is personal. It's personal branding. That's how it's called. And I feel there are a lot of misconceptions out there. You need to work for the algorithm. You need to basically feed your audience with things that it would just works for the likes and for the impressions. And that, I think, is the biggest misconception, because you can have 10,000 likes on a post, but if this is one of those cheat sheets or these billboard quotes that are completely meaningless, and you're just literally doing for the impressions and for the likes, and not for building those meaningful connection, building those meaningful discussion on the comment section and everything, I feel it's completely meaningless. I see a lot of these accounts that are making the same mistake over and over again. And I see a lot of those accounts that have huge following, empty profiles, as I call them, because there's nothing. It's literally copy and paste of some other accounts. And honestly, I know of some of them, they actually don't get any opportunities out of that, because there's no value in what they're giving. So sometimes you need to take a step back and say, okay, what is my purpose? Why I want to try to build a personal brand? And on the back of that, building your whole strategy, getting somebody to help you if you can, or if you cannot, you can build it also yourself, but you need to be conscious that it will take time and you need to take it very seriously, as it's a job, literally. And okay, what do you want to build out of that? Who is your ICP? What are your content pillars? And how can you really give value to your audience? And how can you do something different? Don't, like, you're so unique. Don't try to emulate these big creators and do whatever they do. Just try to be you. And I feel like a lot of people are making the same mistake and emulating these big creators, even emulating me. No, don't do that. Like, just be you. You're so unique. And that's how you will build your unique personal brand. And that's how I would be interested in actually get to know you and get to to get value out of you. And also, I think another thing, that what is the whole purpose of LinkedIn? The whole purpose of, if you think that the whole purpose of LinkedIn is just making a sales and that's it, transaction, I think you're completely wrong. Like, LinkedIn is a social media platform. So as a social media platform, you need to be social, which means that you need to build those meaningful connections. And those meaningful connections, you cannot just build them online. I highly believe that you need to take them offline. And taking them offline means that also meet people in person. So people see that there's no, like, that there's a real person behind the account. There is somebody real. And that's how you build those connections. And that's how I built long-term friendships on LinkedIn. Out of nothing, out of that, a DM. I build, I don't know, I send voice messages on LinkedIn. I know a lot of people don't like it. I highly recommend it, especially if you have any sales strategy. It just gets you like an answer for sure, whether it's a yes or a no. Because you make it personal, you make an effort to send a DM. You make, like, it's different. Like, so how can you be different on this platform? And I think that should be your whole strategy, not emulating what other people are doing, learning from other people, but not emulating, I would say.
So let's say I'm starting a new business today. What do you recommend I would do for the next 90 days? What can I expect in the next? What should I do, and what can I expect in the 90 days? Again, I'm doing this specifically for Paris, that he's leaving now. So hopefully, think about Paris, and now he's leaving, and he has. I've been like he's been watching a lot, but he's not been posting, because again, I mean, it is difficult. You know that as well. Okay, so what advice would you give someone who's starting out now, and it's important for him to do it? He knows it's important for him to do, and so that's not a problem. Selling that idea is not a problem, but then, okay, how does he start? What does he do for the 90 days, and what can he expect in those 90 days?
Okay, yeah. I mean, 90 days is a good time to start building our personal branding, because you can start seeing results. I would say, first and most, treat your profile as a landing page. So people should have a clear understanding of why you're there. Like, what are you trying to achieve? Who are the people that you're trying to connect? What is the business that you're trying to build? And who are the people that you're helping? So treating your profile as a landing page and having the right CTAs on your profile in a way that you can have like a proper sales funnel as well on your profile. Start posting, of course, but start posting meaningful content, of course, like an understanding who is your audience and what are the things that you have that are so unique to you that that could help your audience. Third thing, connect with the right people. Connect with the right people on LinkedIn, and really seeing, like, when I was building my personal brand, I would like study what other people were doing, like who were the people that were commenting on other people's posts, how many comments they would do, how many connection requests they would, how many connection they would build on, how many followers they would build every single month. What are the topics that it was working for them? What are the things that I would see that would capture the attention of the audience? How they were talking, like what they were posting in terms of visual. Like, I made like a whole study out of that. I was so obsessed, and it takes bloody time. So I think, first of all, if you're building, in the first 90 days, you need to keep that consistency. Like, again, like, you're building your business, like you're building your personal brand is like literally two businesses you're building together, and keeping that consistency. Okay, there's no overnight success. And how can you be consistent when it comes to building your personal branding? But also understanding, I think, again, a lot of people are missing that point. If you're building your business, if you're building your personal brand to give visibility to your business, how can you really make like a whole sales funnel out of your profile and out of your content, because a lot of people are missing out completely that part. And they're trying to post things that think that the audience will like and would get the impressions, but not really giving the right value to their prospects, and not really connecting with the right people out there. And again, if you go with a strategy, it will never gonna work. It will not work. But also trying to understand how can you monetize LinkedIn. That comes on the back of building your sales funnel. Because again, like a lot of people and a lot of startups, I know that there was more on the old days, like you think about building, and then eventually the money will come. But actually, how can you start making money literally from day one? And as you know, like that should be actually your number one priority. Especially, again, you might have quit your company, so you don't have the safety of a salary every month. So you need to start making money very quick. And I think that's, again, some things that people are still missing out. They still think, okay, I have big following, I have a big, big audience and everything. Eventually things will come. But no, you actually don't even need a big following to make money. There are a lot of small creators that perhaps are actually monetizing better LinkedIn than most of the big creators. So it's just connecting with the right people, building those right connections and following and community, and building. Actually, I always say there is a big difference between an audience and a community. The audience just there to listen, but the community is the one that will engage with you and with your content, and is the one that you want to also get inspired from. Like it's always like a two ways. You cannot just pretend that people will give to you and then eventually things will happen. But how can you also give to them, and how can you have like a proper exchange as well on LinkedIn? So I think that sometimes you don't even need a website to start with on LinkedIn. I still have my website under construction because I had to change a few things, and I still get opportunities out of that. But really putting yourself out there, building that different voice, and keep consistently be there. Like, again, you need to take it as you're building a business. That's, it seems like a simple advice, but to execute it, it's hard work. Very much hard work.
Yeah, but then so is building a business, choose your heart. I think that's what it really is. Give more than you ask. And please, for the love of God, no cheat sheets, no billboard codes. Let's just stop that. That's not just an advice to Paris, but I think that's an advice to anyone else also listening. Where do you see Mint and Lemon going into? Is it always going to be in the personal branding space specific to LinkedIn, or is there anything else in the horizon? And if it's only going to be here, okay, then what's the next steps?
Well, the sky's the limit, I always say. I think a personal brand is our core. But there are a lot of things connected to personal branding. So it's not just only LinkedIn, of course, but there could be other different channels or other different modus operandi when it comes to actually building your personal brand. So there's a lot of things that I have in my mind on how the business will develop in the next month or year, and how I will grow as well the team. But for now, like I'm very happy where we are. I'm very happy how the growth is going, and I feel like sometimes is like I'm selfishly like getting so much knowledge out of the job that we're doing. So I feel like you give to your clients, but your clients give so much back to you, because you connect with so many different people from so many different backgrounds. As I was mentioning to you, also so many like immigrant founders, so many female founders as well, which I think is very inspiring as well, because as you know, we are a minority. And you get to hear all these stories and all these inspiring really journeys. And for me, I'm like, wow, like I'm having the time of my life. It's hard work, don't get me wrong. It's like 7 days a week, 24 hours, but I'm having the time of my life, and I'm getting so much value out of it, and I'm just having fun. And I think that's the best part of my job. And for the agency, we'll see where everything will go. But I feel like we're just getting started.
I'm glad you're having fun, because life is too short. What would you say to the little girl in the small village in Italy growing up? Obviously, you've come a long way now. I mean, you're not just speaking English, but you're smashing it, and you're teaching other people how to write in English, which is just, I mean, is so interesting. What would you say to that girl who didn't speak a word of English at that time? First, did you think you would be here? But then what did you tell her?
That little girl was very insecure. I still have my insecurities, of course, but there were a lot of issues going on. I think that everything is going to be okay, that you'll find your way, you'll find your path, and really trust the process. Because when I was a kid, I never thought I would, I would go much further. Like, I never thought I would have like those possibilities. So I would say, yeah, like, go with the flow, trust the process, and never settle down for what is average. I think that's the thing that also scared me the most of being average. I never want to be average, and I never want to be boring life. Like, I want to have an exciting life. I feel that's the meaning of any life. Whatever you want to be and whatever you want to do, but in whatever sounds exciting for you, like, be excited about life. Yeah, sorry. I think I lost the second question.
No, did you think you would be here today?
I would have never thought. I would have never thought in my wildest dreams. Never, ever. Never, like, it's so interesting. Never I would learn a new language. Like, you would see in my hometown those people that would speak any different language, which I actually don't think I actually ever met now. But if somebody would know some word of English and everything, I'm like, oh my God, these people are so clever. These people are like, they go places, And I was like, yeah, I never do that. And I don't know, it's a surreal life sometimes. I have to pinch myself. And I think the moment I moved to the UK, I started like a second life. And even my friends, they told me, you change, you physically change even, which is something surreal. I do believe in this theory that sometimes when you're exposed to different environments, different culture, different people, you actually physically change. I physically changed, not just my style, but like my future as well. And I would have never thought like life could have been so exciting. And again, I feel this is just the beginning. I feel there's so much more. Like, every year life changes just for the better, for the better, for the better. Hard work, a lot of hard work, as you know, but it just keeps getting more exciting somehow. So yeah, I still need to pinch myself.
Well, I'm glad you took that decision. I'm glad you have made that little girl proud, because I know how instrumental your work and your presence has been for Plum. Plum will always have your DNA. In fact, again, coming back to Paris, this is like a half Paris podcast. So coming back to Paris, it's his farewell today. So I was telling him that there's few people who I have said this statement to. I said that to him today, but you were the first person I said this to. So Plum will always have your DNA. And you also are inspiring a lot of people through your posts. And I know amazing work that you're doing with a lot of people. I hope you continue to do that. I know you inspire me when I read your posts as well. So I'm glad you took that decision. I'm glad you learned English, and I'm glad you're doing all the beautiful things that you're doing. And I wish you all the best, and all the best to Minter Lemon and everybody in your team as well. Keep inspiring us and keep doing bigger things as you progress in life. So thank you so much for coming on this pod, Ellie. This was just fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Asim. Thank you. And I mean, your journey is truly inspiring. I've got so much value, so much inspiration really out of your story and out of us working previously together, and seeing how Plum has grown also after like I left, and how, guys, you've built an empire. Like, I think you should be so proud of yourself and what you've built here, and how you're inspiring others. You're building this community of immigrant entrepreneurs. I'm feeling like immigrant is not anymore like a dirty word, but it's something that you should be proud of. I think that's extremely inspiring. So thank you so much again for inviting me, for inspiring everyone, and yeah, keep inspiring others.
Thank you, Ellie.